everyone. Welcome. My name is Clare Dwyer. I work in the University of Limerick, Luxman Library. I'm a library assistant, and today I'm going to talk very much similar to what everyone's been saying so far. And can I just say, like Alex, I really am enjoying the whole presentations. They're really great, and you're getting great ideas, and it also shows how much work people have been doing in a very difficult situation. And just to say congratulations to everyone. And like every library, we depend on each other, and it has made a massive difference in a very difficult and challenging time. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is interlibrary lending and what our experience was during the pandemic. That's not to say that there wasn't scan and deliver and click and collect and all that other stuff and the lib chats and everything else was going on here in Limerick as well. So I was also working in the information desk, so I've kind of a dual role. So I work with the interlibrary loan department, but also with the customer service. And like you, just want to acknowledge the entire library working together as a team to make sure services continued. So what we're going to cover today is, well, no introduction, you already know what happened, the COVID situation, what we did with the interlibrary loan service here in Limerick, the feedback we got, challenges and opportunities. And I know it's very hard to find a silver lining in any of this, but there was a few opportunities that came about as a result of this. And so we're going to highlight maybe some of the better aspects of the situation and the impact it will have going forward, because services have changed, particularly with interlibrary lending, and how we're going to integrate those going forward as things change. Just a little bit about us here in Limerick. For those, sure you already know where we are. I was doing this for an international conference, so I said I'd let them know where Limerick was. And it's quite wet here today, so I don't know what the weather's like everywhere else. We're a young university. You've got 16,000 students, over 12,000 undergraduates. We cover all aspects of university as you'd expect. And of course, we can't forget that Munster Rugby have their Centre of Excellence here in the UL campus. And anyone that's ever been to Limerick, you'll know how important rugby is to us, so we have to mention that as well. I'm also just going to touch slightly on the fact that UL recently went through a lot of change. They added on a new extension, and there's just a few photos there to show you our lovely extension in Luxman Library. And there's a bit more information available down there on the web link. If at your own time, whenever you get a chance, you might have a look at it. And you can see the brilliant services and quality of new developments going on in UL. Just before I go any further, I wanted to say to you that I was trying to define interlibrary loan department, and I came up with this fine dining idea. Everybody uses the library and they definitely identify with all the services, but interlibrary lending is, well, from UL point of view, wouldn't be a huge section of our customer service. So I kind of equated it to fine dining. It's when you wanted something special. So you couldn't find something in particular in our main collections, or you were finding difficulty in locating electronic articles or chapters. That's where we'd help you out, so that the amount of requests mightn't be on a huge capacity, but they do take time to answer. And without the cooperation of all the other libraries, we would find that difficult. So the objective of the interlibrary loan department is part of Regis Services, and my main supervisor would be Mary Dunnan. And I work again with Helen and a good number of people as well. So shout out to all the people at the desk and for all your help throughout the year. We access unavailable and alternative e-resources, and it's mainly articles and book chapters, and it's restricted access. This means that not everybody can actually send in requests. So we're mainly dealing with fourth year students, final year students, and postgraduates. Now, the thing is, that was the way it was, and it still continues to be restricted to a certain extent. But when COVID hit, you can imagine that any way of accessing information which didn't involve accessing the main library became very important. So I was trying to summarize how we all felt about 2020. I think the Times did it very well. They just put the worst year ever. But like I said, we try and find any silver lining that we can. So along with other libraries, we were facing these type of challenging situations. The buildings were closed, social distancing. How are we going to continue to work when your main day-to-day was people coming into the library, accessing the main material. I had a few friends of mine saying, you work in a library, how can you keep working considering COVID? But I was explaining to them the advances of technology and how things have changed, and they were all pretty impressed that everybody was still able to access material. One of the big things we did here in UL, and I know it's already been mentioned, is the investment in new technology. And one of those elements was rapid ILL. So we were given an opportunity over the summer of 2020 to actually start training people up and how to actually use this service. It's super fast. That was the big thing. And that we could have turnarounds within 24 hours. Now, Rapid would basically, it works on the idea of pods, that a group of libraries will come together, and not only do they borrow, but they also lend. And the whole perspective here was to actually be able to answer people's queries, because in a lot of cases, standard sources weren't available to us, as most people couldn't access their print collection. So having Rapid ILL made a massive difference to our situation. We also looking at reading lists, because the way we deliver information totally changed. Students couldn't come on campus anymore. The reading list service became more important, and that became a big project here. So I was involved with that as well. And it was suggested that we not only resource our own collections, but also able to go to other collections. Now that of course would mean that you needed to secure a copyright feed paid version, because with interlibrary loans, it's a one-to-one, you send it to the one person. However, with the reading lists, you're looking at classes. So the big thing is to make sure that you're copyright compliant. And the way we were able to do this was to use the digital content store. And I know that was mentioned as well by a few people, the DCS. And again, that meant more training. And one of your colleagues there mentioned the importance of giving us new roles, because I don't think any of this would have become available without COVID. So there was an awful lot of training and investment in upskilling. And that's probably, we've had time to actually sit down and make things work. One of the advantages as well was that we were able to access certain items through the British Library, and that's through EHS, Enhanced Higher Education Supply Services. It's a facility that's available through the DCS. And it really was so helpful when we were trying to help our students, because there's nothing worse than clicking on a link and saying the document isn't there. We were actually able to source the document in a copyright compliant way. This just gives you an idea of how the DCS works. It goes down through courses, etc. And it is very user friendly. After a lot of accessing the information, you do actually get very used to it. And I was very fortunate in that I was very much assisted by an awful lot of the DCS staff in how to actually use this. And I'm currently helping a few more colleagues become a little bit more familiar with the DCS. And it's going to become a bigger aspect of the reading lists as we go forward. Now, like I said, I know it sounds like I'm saying thank you all the time, but it really isn't without warrant. We really couldn't have gotten through the COVID without all the supports. So we had the FIL, the Forum for Interlibrary Loans. Somebody asked what the RSCVD, I'm glad it was mentioned. It was basically voluntary libraries that came together to provide articles to us. The British Library were fantastic as well. They did their best up to the point that they couldn't deliver anymore. And I'm not forgetting all the libraries in Ireland who have always helped us, and they've always been so grateful. We're always so grateful for their assistance. And anytime we can help, I know it's reciprocated. This just gives you an idea of that there is a human aspect to COVID. We were able to help people out, and the feedback was really strong. You can really feel the relief in the person's reply that it was brilliant, that they were under pressure. And again, it gave them another focus in a difficult time, that they were able to continue their work. And we got an awful lot of feedback like that throughout, and that kept us going from a personal and morale basis as well. Not forgetting as well, not only are you dealing with your students and your staff, you're also dealing with the lack of seeing your colleagues, which can make it very lonely and keep you in contact while apart, and doing the teamwork, flexibility, and the lack of face-to-face. I don't know about you, but after a while, the kitchen table looks a bit enough. You can't look at it much more, and you do miss seeing your colleagues. We were the same. We went into bubbles, etc., which is great. and it meant that we could all work at various times into the library, but also meant that you didn't get to see people that you'd normally see on a day-to-day basis. So one of my colleagues came up with this particular good idea. It put pictures together. So hi, Louise. And this was a video that was put together for the students, but it also allowed us as colleagues to see each other again. And it just kind of saying to people that behind it all, there are people thinking of you. So the library staff are behind you. Keep going, get those assignments in, ace those exams, you've got this, and as well to stay safe. So that went down very well with everyone. It was another aspect that became important throughout this pandemic. The impact, well, I suppose from an ILL point of view, it was an increase in demand. It was suddenly your profile was very up there. There was a huge sense of relief among the staff, students, and everyone that we could continue to work. Positive regards for reading lists. Reading lists have been not a major project up to then, but it has become now and has proven to be extremely popular. And more awareness of interlibrary loans as a department. This just gives you an idea, as a colleague mentioned, there are people who like graphs, and this is just an example of the increase in demand that went from, I think 4 at the beginning of January, and we went up then to whatever, 16. Now, it mightn't sound like a lot, but these are requests that take time to actually answer, and we were very pleased to be able to give a positive reply and help people. Just regarding the reading lists, you can see they're very popular as well. Just to let you know that KBS stands for the business school and the AHSS is representing arts. And it just shows you that they started off particular years, but by 2020, there's a massive jump. And it has continued to increase as we're going along, which is very much down to everybody's hard work in putting all of this together. If you need to contact us at any stage, please do so. And to access here on the interlibrary loans, just go through the main library webpage. And just to say thanks very much for your attention and thank you. Bye-bye.